Well, these are live pictures from New Zealand, already entered 2025. Quite an exciting time for New Zealand, if I must say. Happy New Year to them, by the way. Well, it is the last day of the year 2024 here in Nigeria, West Africa, where citizens are waiting to be ushered into the new year 2025. But some other countries are already in the new year. Now, the arrival of the new year definitely excites many. I'm excited as well. But let us tell you which country will be the first in the world to ring the new year. Now, the new year doesn't arrive at the same time everywhere in the world, and thanks to time zones. Now, remember, planet Earth is divided into 24 time zones, so it is not the same time or even the same day everywhere in the world. The first to party for the new year will be the inhabitants of the Pacific Islands, specifically Kiritimati Island in Kiribati, a country in Micronesia. Now, on the other hand, we have Tonga, Samoa, and some parts of New Zealand will also be amongst the first to, or even are amongst the first to welcome the new year ahead of the rest of the world. Following them, 2025 will arrive in Tuvalu, a small Pacific nation in Australia, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and also New Caledonia. And who will be the last to welcome New Year 2025? Now, those places located at the far western edge of the planet in delayed time zones such as Baker, Howland Islands, American, Samoa, and also some parts of French Polynesia will definitely be the last. All right, let's now cross over to our international correspondent, Afia Hagen in London, for updates around the world on New Year's Eve. Afia, compliments of the season, first of all. Please go ahead and tell us what kind of year has New Zealand had?
Yes, Happy New Year in advance to you. And you're very right in saying that New Zealand, one of the first places, Auckland, there we saw those spectacular fireworks. One of the first places to ring in the new year. They are into 2025 already. Now, New Zealand has had a pretty mixed year. Some of the main headlines from New Zealand all across the year. Some news hubs closed in New Zealand. Warner Brothers shut down their news hub newsroom there. You had a power pylon collapse that caused a major outage that meant 65,000 properties were without power. You had a very monumental case about this woman called Laura Dickinson, who was sentenced for murdering 3 of her daughters in 2021. And she was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Like New Zealand, like the rest of the world, couldn't escape the cost of living crisis. And so there was public service cuts, slashing public servants to the tune of $6 million in New Zealand as well. And then the Maori king died at the age of 69, just days after celebrating the 18th anniversary of his coronation. He was in hospital recovering from heart surgery, and he died peacefully on August the 30th, surrounded by his wife and children. And that meant that there was a new Maori queen announced. She was the youngest child and only daughter of the monarch, and she became the new monarch of the Maori kingdom. Now, those are just some of the major headlines from New Zealand in 2024. And like we said, they have now crossed over into 2025. They are, in fact, living in the future.
Well, quite an interesting year they've had, 2024. But you are in London, so can you tell us how the New Year preparation is going in the UK?
Yes, I am in London, but New Year preparations aren't going exactly as planned. And that's because we have what's been described as a superstorm heading towards the United Kingdom. As we know, it is that time of year, it is storm season. And so this superstorm is going to kind of cross the whole of the United Kingdom, which is quite unusual. There are weather alerts and weather warnings out all across the country. Now, in Edinburgh and Scotland, they usually have a huge fireworks display and a Hogmanay, a New Year's Eve party that has been cancelled. And that's monumental. It's very, very rare that that is cancelled. So that has been cancelled. Celebrations in Blackpool and Newcastle towards the north of the country have been cancelled as well. Now, here in London, we usually have a huge fireworks display that takes place over the River Thames. Now, at the moment, that display has not been cancelled. However, councils all across London are on alert in case that does have to be cancelled. And that's because we're expecting high winds and torrential rain throughout the day here in London, and snow up and down the country, as well as torrential rain and those high winds as well. So, like I said, the New Year's plans aren't getting off to the best start at the moment, with lots of cancellations throughout the day. Now, the wind is picking up. When I woke up this morning, it was relatively calm, but the wind has been picking up as we move into the afternoon. So we can expect there to be more cancellations of fireworks displays and, of course, other New Year's events that are taking place up and down the country. So perhaps a quieter New Year than perhaps some people were reckoning for when they woke up this morning.
All right, Afia. Now, how are the people reacting to the cancellation of the fireworks display, amidst the worry about a storm?
It's hugely disappointing. New Year's Eve, especially in Scotland, especially in Edinburgh, is a huge deal, and people buy tickets literally a year in advance. They buy them on January 1st for December 31st, and it's a huge party. So it's usually disappointing that this has been cancelled. And up and down the country, people are very disappointed as well, but also quite concerned about the risk of flooding. There's some danger to life warnings as well because of the high winds. So there's going to be problems with traveling as well. So that will make it difficult for people to go and see relatives. So it is very, very disappointing. A lot of people having to rethink their New Year's plans. And of course, this is going to affect retailers, restaurants, and bars as well that do rely on the Christmas and New Year trade. 2024 been a difficult year for the United Kingdom. The cost of living crisis and high inflation is still having an effect. And pubs and clubs and restaurants up and down the country really do rely on these bookings throughout Christmas and into New Year. So it is going to have a knock-on effect on them as well. So like I said, it is hugely disappointing.
All right, now let's talk about New Zealand. You did say that, they're ready in the future, and you listed, a few of the happenings that went down in 2024. What are your predictions on, what is expected to happen, or how 2025 would actually go for New Zealanders?
Well, I think like the rest of the world, New Zealanders definitely want to get out of this cost of living crisis. It's been something we've been talking about for a couple of years. It's a hangover from the pandemic, which when we get into 2025, it's hard to believe was 5 years ago. I think a lot of people feel like the last 5 years have kind of meshed into one big blob. Now, New Zealand was a place that wasn't as badly affected as the rest of the world, but like I said, like I mentioned, there was huge public service cuts, and that is a hangover from the pandemic and the cost of living crisis. So I think, like a lot of countries, New Zealand is hoping for more stability, for prices to come down, for inflation to come down, and for them to emerge from this hangover from COVID-19, from the cost of living crisis, and from difficulties in finance, like a lot of people around the world.
All right, now we've talked about, the first countries to, celebrate New Year's. What about the last countries? I can't imagine how it must actually feel, for them. Talk about places located far at the western edge of the planet with delayed time
Mm-hmm.
zones. Baker and Howland Islands, American Samoa, and some parts of French Polynesia. Can you give us an idea of, what it feels like to be the last to celebrate New Year when it comes to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the time zones that you talked about, people are going to be celebrating and ringing in the bells for the next 24 hours. So your last places to celebrate New Year. So this is 2 a.m. and I'm comparing that to GMT. So I am on just after 11 a.m. here. So 2 a.m. you've got Greenland, and then you've got Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay will be 3 a.m. And then parts of Canada, Venezuela, and Puerto Rico at 5 a.m. Much of the east coast of the USA, 5 a.m. as well. So that'll be midnight here in the UK, at 1 a.m. there in Nigeria. Then Mexico, and 8 a.m. the west coast of the USA, so Washington, Los Angeles, then Honolulu, down Hawaii at 10 a.m. Baker Island and Howland Island at 12 p.m. A whole 12 hours after me here in the UK, people will be celebrating the new year. And of course, what about the next places after New Zealand? So we've had New Zealand, we are going to have much of Australia within the next hour, then Queensland, then Japan and China, then Indonesia, Myanmar, through Bangladesh, Nepal, most of India around 6:30 p.m., then Pakistan, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan into Iran, and then Russia and Ukraine. So that's kind of the order, moving from east through to west across the world.
Well, there's something about the new year that actually brings or comes with everything fresh, a new start, a new everything. And we hope, this is exactly what happens to most of the countries or all of the countries celebrating the new year this time around. Well, thank you so much, Afia, for speaking to us.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the reopening of Warri Refinery as President Tinubu commends NNPCL. Stay with us. Well, away from the New Year festivities, we head to the oil sector in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has expressed his profound joy at the reopening of the Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, describing it as another remarkable achievement in 2024 that has strengthened Nigeria's hope in his administration. Now, the Warri Refinery returned to operation weeks after NNPCL restarted the 60,000 barrel per day at the Port Harcourt refinery in November. With Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company going into operation after several years of inactivity, President Tinubu has once again expressed his administration's determination to ramp up local refining capacity and make Nigeria a hub for downstream industrial activities in Africa. To security matters, gunmen have killed 7 people in Ihiala local government area, Anambra State, in an attack that occurred on Monday. Among the victims were 2 unarmed civilians planning a burial and security operatives, including members of the Anambra State Vigilante Group. Now, the state police spokesperson, SP Tochukwu Ikenga, confirmed the incident, stating that the attack happened around 11:20 a.m. local time. Police Commissioner Nage Obono Itam visited the scene and ordered an immediate manhunt for the assailants. 1 victim was rescued and is receiving treatment. The Commissioner of Police expressed condolences to the families of the victims and assured that the perpetrators will be brought to justice. Now to the courts. An Abuja High Court has ordered the immediate release of Alhaji Bello Bodejo, president of the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore, from Department of State Services custody. Justice Muhammad Zubairu ruled on Monday that Bodejo's detention since December 9 without being charged was unlawful. The ruling followed a habeas corpus application filed by Bodejo's lawyer, Ruben Atabo. The judge noted that the respondents, including the Attorney General of the Federation and the DSS Director General, failed to challenge the application. Justice Zubairu clarified that Bodejo's release is not an acquittal and instructed his lawyer to ensure his availability if charges are filed. The judge also warned against any further unconstitutional detention. Now, staying in the courts, a federal high court in Abuja has okayed the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's EFCC's application, to freeze 24 bank accounts domiciled in different banks over allegations bordering on terrorism financing. Justice Emeka Nwite, who granted the application after EFCC's lawyer Martha Babatunde moved an ex parte motion to effect, gave the commission the go-ahead to freeze the accounts for 90 days pending the conclusion of investigations. The motion ex parte was filed by Ekele Iheanacho, SAN. Iheanacho sought an order freezing the bank accounts stated in the schedule, which accounts are owned by Lawrence Lucky Eromosele, who is currently being investigated in a case involving kidnapping pending the conclusion of the investigation. Now, he said the bank accounts in respect of which the reliefs were sought are subject to matters of investigation by the EFCC about money laundering and terrorism financing. Now, as we come to the end of the year 2024, some state governors have hit the ground running as they aim to get the best out of their respective states with the signing of their 2025 budgets. We begin in Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has presented the 2025 budget proposal of 1.1 trillion naira to the Victor Okojumbo-led Rivers State House of Assembly. The appropriation bill, tagged Budget of Inclusive Growth and Development, was presented during plenary on Monday.
Today, we are presenting a budget that will empower us to consolidate the past gain, stimulate further investment into our economy, and take our dear state to the next level of economic growth, social progress, and shared prosperity. Mr. Speaker, permit me to express my profound gratitude to the good people of Rivers State for their unwavering support, prayers, and trust over the last year and 7 months. I have had the privilege and honor to be a chief servant. I wish to also thank Mr. Speaker and the honorable members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for standing with us and the people of Rivers State at this auspicious time. Together, let us continue to work towards building a better and more prosperous future for our dear state. As I present the 2025 appropriation bill to this honorable House.
Similarly, the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, has signed the 1.054 trillion naira 2025 state appropriation bill into law. Now, speaking after receiving the clean copies of the bill, Governor Abiodun announced that his administration would, in the coming month, sign the partnership agreement with potential partners for the development of the Olokolas deep sea port. He said the government would also focus on the provision of more basic infrastructure with the signing of more memoranda of understanding with private corporate bodies in renewable energy, agriculture, and other sectors that will boost the state's economy. In Osun State, Governor Ademola Adeleke signed the 2025 State Appropriation Bill into law on Monday. At the briefing event held at the governor's office in Abere, where the bill was signed, Adeleke directed ministries, agencies, and departments of government to vigorously pursue its implementation for the benefit of the citizens. The governor assured residents that the budget will be fully implemented to meet their expectations. Now, in Kogi State, Governor Usman Ododo also signed the 2025 appropriation bill into law at the Glass House, Government House, Lokoja. The 2025 budget estimates totaling 582.4 billion naira represents a 43.34% increase from the revised 2024 budget of 406.3 billion naira. Now, the budget is expected to address key sectors such as education, healthcare, infrastructure, agriculture, and economic development. Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Saleh on Monday signed into law 2025 appropriation bill of 384.3 billion naira. The budget is about 2 billion naira above the estimate earlier submitted by Governor Saleh to the State Assembly. Now, Saleh, while assenting to the budget in the Government House, appreciated the Speaker and members of the State Assembly for their tireless efforts and speedy passage of the bill. Away from budgets, the world is witnessing a significant shift leading to more adoption and positive regulation of cryptocurrencies. Now, governments worldwide are taking steps to legitimize and integrate these digital assets into their economic systems. As the global cryptocurrency market continues to grow, it's clear that digital currencies are here to stay. News Central's business correspondent Juliet Rowland compiled this report. But we'll bring this report later. Now, moving on, primary healthcare centers are fundamentally known for addressing the healthcare needs of all patients at the community level. Healthcare services at the Ibadan-Elume Community Healthcare Center in Delta State have been suspended for more than 4 months following a labor dispute among the matron, health workers, and community leaders who allege that their quarters were burgled by suspected hoodlums that's leading to the loss of their phones and personal belongings. News Central correspondent Austin Azu has more.
This is the health center in Ibadan-Elume community in Sapele local government area of Delta State. This place ought to be bubbling with patients by now. However, you can see the place is under lock and key, and weeds almost overtaking these premises. What could be responsible for this particular dissection of this particular health facility that provide medical attention for the people of Ibadan-Elume community and neighboring communities?
I came home one day to hear that the nurses that work here, for which some of them are actually my members, that they have packed. They no longer work here, that whether thieves or burglars came here someday, whether in the night or so, and made away with all their phones. And for that reason, they have decided not to work again, that they are going to leave until the community restore their phones.
According to what I hear, that they require from the community chairman to invite him to come in. So anything those assets they steal until they recover before any other thing. And those boys who do the thing, they don't know them because they wear masks inside face come here in the night.
Some nursing mothers expressed concerns about the challenges they encounter in accessing healthcare services outside their community and requested state government assistance to enable them access healthcare services quickly.
You know what, I cannot go etc. When I reach etc, I don't see anybody. I can't go general. Now general take drugs when I can't come.
I register for etc, but I get belly. But as the belly they pay me, I register. You know, they can't go chemist.
Our whole community, they don't talk anything about the etc. If we know when our supply we they go. And private hospital for inside supply, now everybody they go. Everybody they find their own solution to treat ourselves.
While many community residents were disappointed by the health workers' decision to shut down the healthcare center, others also made an appeal to them to return to work and save lives.
So to my own opinion, it's very bad for the place because of stolen phone. How much is phone? Is phone compared to life?
So that health center, why they this Ibadan, it's a very nice health center to us for here because if you get wife, when you get belly, that way our wife now from there they reach or they go. They're not they pay free.
When they look so, most of the time, pregnant women, they come for delivering. They call now, they not go see anybody. Sometimes I call tell they say, because I stay near here, I call tell they say, they look this way. So if you see them, not go see anybody. They call, go chemist, go deliver.
That place should be fenced around and put in a qualified security, maybe that way the government will equip with arms so that that place will be secure for the community, citizens, and those having illness to treat themselves very well.
The executive director of the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency stated that the state government would conduct an investigation into the events that transpired at the Ibadan Elume Community Healthcare Center.
Also do community assessment, their problems, and resolve them. And then again, if at all it happened, I would rather say it was unfortunate. Sorry to the person who is aggrieved, and then they should please tarry for a while and give us useful information to work with. We'll be able to get and address the issue.
Residents of Ibadan Elume and surrounding communities anticipate the return of health workers to their facility. In Delta for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Now, in response to the devastating floods that have affected several parts of Borno State, the state government is set to roll out a new disaster response framework. Now, this comes as the Flood Disaster Relief Disbursement Committee, which was tasked with assessing the flood's impact, providing aid and financial support to victims, submitted its report to the Borno State Governor. News Central's Umar Kirawa now reports.
The sad memory of September 10, 2024 that left communities submerged, millions displaced, and others paid the supreme price. The Borno State government had inaugurated an interagency flood relief disbursement committee saddled with the responsibility of assessing damage and providing relief to victims.
The donation we received in cash total 28,254,364,263 naira 34 kobo. This includes the 10 billion donated by the Borno State government. The committee distributed the amount as follows: 18,084,700,000 in cash to the 101,330 households, including food and non-food items.
The Flood Relief Disbursement Committee recommended the need for street naming, numbering, and the establishment of a disaster response structure as part of efforts to address the growing challenges of urbanization and disaster management in the state.
We shall also prioritize technology integration into the system. Your recommendation for street naming and numbering in Maiduguri and its environments is very important. That says you have to direct the relevant MDS to submit their requirements, and we will ask the beneficiaries. Anybody who has not received such amount has the right, she or he has the right to complain that his name was tested on the notice, but he has not benefited from this scheme for purpose of accountability and transparency.
The Borno State government appreciated United Nations agencies, including UNHCR, WFP, FAO, among other partners and individuals, as well as states and the federal government, for their support. The urban renewal strategy is expected to bring a systematic approach to urban planning, providing clearer navigation and facilitating more efficient disaster response. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Now, the world is witnessing a significant shift leading to more adoption and positive regulation of cryptocurrencies. Governments worldwide are taking steps to legitimize and integrate these digital assets in their economic systems. As the global cryptocurrency market continues to grow, it's clear that digital currencies are here to stay. News Central's business correspondent Juliet Rowland compiled this report.
United States President-elect Donald Trump's pro-digital assets or cryptocurrencies position, which includes plans for a strategic Bitcoin reserve and the development of a crypto-friendly regulatory framework, is expected to drive Bitcoin's growth beyond $100,000 by 2025. His policies aim to establish the U.S. as a global crypto hub, influencing international adoption and potentially reshaping the global financial landscape. Meanwhile, Russia has recently enacted significant legislation that legalizes cryptocurrency mining and allows the use of cryptocurrency for international payments. Both nations are pursuing distinct strategies for integrating cryptocurrencies into the economic systems. As the world becomes increasingly digital, the decisions made by these two countries will significantly influence the future of digital assets adoption.
Global cryptocurrency adoption. Digital assets, cryptocurrencies, if you like, are gaining global acceptance due to their decentralized nature, transparency, and ability to promote financial inclusion. Key drivers, I would say, include the use as a hedge against inflation and, of course, the growing institutional adoption.
The growing influence of cryptocurrencies raises important questions for the Naira, Nigeria's national currency. As more individuals turn to digital currencies, the risk of capital flight and dollarization increases, which could destabilize the value of the Naira, which has already fallen due to devaluation of late. The expansion of cryptocurrencies brings both opportunities and challenges for Nigeria. As Nigeria navigates the emerging cryptocurrency landscape, it's essential to develop regulatory frameworks and policies that protect the Naira's interests.
The best thing that the government can do is to actually align itself with the technology, align itself with industry players, find ways that we can utilize cryptocurrencies to see how we can boost the economy, find ways that we can utilize cryptocurrencies to bring in more value and cash flow into the economy.
As the world becomes increasingly digital, it's essential for Nigerian policymakers to develop clear and effective regulatory frameworks that promote innovation while protecting consumers and the broader economy. By doing so, Nigeria can capitalize on the potential benefits of cryptocurrency adoption while minimizing potential risks to ensuring a stable and prosperous future for the Naira and the Nigerian economy.
The marine and blue economy entails the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth to improve livelihoods, create jobs while preserving the health of marine and coastal ecosystems. Now, with the capacity to generate a global revenue of more than $1.5 trillion annually, 30 million jobs, and supply vital sources of protein to over 3 million people, the idea of creating the ministry was apt to help drive Nigeria's diversification from a mono economy. Now, in her review of the sector, Nyoma Obiaswalo reports that despite its potential, stakeholders still await a clear policy direction amid some highs and lows in 2024.
For the maritime industry was the end of an almost 3-decade struggle to ensure good welfare and a dignified exit condition for workers in the shipping sector. The historic event saw the signing of the minimum wage agreement midwifed by the Nigerian Shippers Council and witnessed by the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, and other major stakeholders.
I want to employ the employers to please keep strictly to the conditions of this agreement. I don't want us to just sign it for the fun of it. It has to be properly implemented. And I commend the Shippers Council for creating the time to really midwife this agreement. It's something that everybody is very proud of. And I must commend the leadership of the union, led by Adeyanju, for ensuring peace reigns, within the maritime industry.
But months after the signing, how has compliance been? The president of the shipping arm shares the story after.
No company has paid as at now. The professor is that those who did not even pay up to that, take home everything, up to now, no company has complied.
2024 also saw the spotlight being beamed on the endemic gridlock and extortion around the Nigerian ports and its access routes following an expose by New Central's Maritime Radar program and other key stakeholders. It spurred the Nigerian Port Authority and the Lagos State government to action to reduce the menace on the port access to the barest minimum. An axis that had become a death trap crippled businesses, reduced productivity, increased transportation costs, hindered economic diversification, and paralyzed international trade. A laudable initiative in 2024 was President Bola Tinubu's approval of 0% import duty on basic food items. However, the scheme never took effect. Stakeholders cited challenges such as lack of coordination, unclear directives, and more.
Yeah, when Mr. President announced it, I actually clapped. But after that, my happiness just evaporated.
How? Why?
Yeah, because I looked at the implementation, and my fear is actually now becoming a reality. When you say we have issues of poverty, we have issues of starvation, and the government in a magnanimity saying that, okay, bring in food items, we are making it zero duty. The Ministry of Finance is making it cumbersome. Because whatever Ministry of Finance dishes to Customs is what Customs implement. Customs does not have power to do that. The Ministry of Finance now has put in pegs to say, okay, you must be so. You must be somebody who has registered with the Ministry of Finance, who have been bringing in food items before. You must be somebody who has registered with. Before you know it, that 90 days window will close, and that food raw material will not still come to Nigeria.
The Nigerian Coast Guard bill, designed to enhance Nigeria's maritime security and regional cooperation in adherence to international maritime standards, was initiated and scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. The proposed legislation aims to safeguard Nigerians' maritime interests and uphold regional coastal security by aligning with international standards and norms for maritime security and enforcing relevant laws within Nigeria's maritime zones, helping to preserve lives and property. The bill, however, generated divergent views from stakeholders.
What is collaboration? Because both are two arms of the Nigerian government, and therefore there's need to collaborate. Nobody is competing for space. Everybody can work together and achieve what they want to achieve. So both parties can come together, and I believe strongly that there will be a collaboration, because whether we like it or not, the core of the Coast Guard officers are going to come from the Nigerian Navy, and therefore they must collaborate to see it for the success of it, for the good of all Nigerians.
It's a duplication. It's not threatening the existence of the Navy, but it's trying to do. In fact, the duplication of the Navy roles have been on the bill for the past 10 years. There was a time in which Nemasa said it was responsible and has a strategy called C4, I4, and R. Those were the strategic naval strategy for containing all the threats that we experience as a maritime state. Those are the strategies that the Navy churned out. And what did we find a week or two after? Nemasa adopted it as their own maritime strategy.
The Day of the Seafarers celebration didn't see government's clear plan to address the many challenges facing these unsung heroes. In the same way, also the World Maritime Day failed to address the regional and global issues. With the pace of development witnessed in the Marine and Blue Economy Ministry in 2024, stakeholders are unsure of what the next 3 years holds for an industry whose development is expected to reduce Nigeria's reliance on oil exports and increase the contribution of the marine sector to nations' gross domestic product. 2024 is ending with ports failing infrastructure, debt-trap quay aprons, congestion, cargo delays and decline, inefficiencies, and no clear direction from the ministry on how it intends to harness the country's ocean resources. In Lagos, for New Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
Coming up after the break, patients in Mauritania struggle amid mental health care shortages. We have details in a moment. Join us again. Away from Nigeria, Mauritania's only psychiatric hospital has highlighted the country's severe mental health challenges with just 20 beds available for a population of 5 million. Graffiti reading, "Stress kills your neurons," marks the wall above 22-year-old CD's bed in a room of 13 of the Nouakchott Center for Specialized Medicine, where he was admitted 3 days ago with psychosis. CD's father, Mohamed Lamine, linked his son's mental health struggles to a failed attempt to immigrate to the U.S. and subsequent drug use. Now, with resources stretched, most patients, including CD, are discharged after a few days. Dr. Mohamed Lamine Abeidi, a psychiatrist at the facility, has called for urgent expansion, citing the long distances patients travel for care and the lack of alternative psychiatric infrastructure.
Des structures de psychiatrie à l'intérieur. Les seules structures, c'est au niveau de Nouakchott. Mais au niveau de Nouakchott, ça, c'est le seul hôpital qui hospitalise et qui donne des soins en psychiatrique. La majorité des patients, en premier lieu, passent vers les traitements traditionnels avant de venir en psychiatrie. On a besoin de faire le maximum pour distribuer le message aux autres, la sensibilisation, que les malades psychiatres, ce n'est pas juste des fous qu'on devait les laisser à côté. Et ce n'est pas juste des personnes qui vont se...
Outside the African continent, mourners have visited the Memorial of Muan to honor the victims of South Korea's deadliest air disaster, which killed 179 people. Authorities have begun releasing the victims' bodies to families as investigations continue into the Jeju Air Boeing 737-800 crash. U.S. investigators, including Boeing officials, have arrived at the crash site while South Korean authorities analyzed 2 recovered black boxes. The plane, carrying 181 passengers from Thailand, issued a mayday call before crash landing into a barrier on bursting into flames. Now, meanwhile, only 2 flight attendants who were pulled out from the wreckage survived. Acting President Choi Sang-mok has called the tragedy a turning point for air safety, urging a system overhaul. South Korea is observing 7 days of mourning as the nation reflects on this devastating end to 2024. In business, Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, has stated that over 90% of workers in both public and private sectors would benefit from reduced taxes under Nigeria's proposed tax reforms. In October 2024, President Bola Tinubu submitted 4 tax reform bills to the nation's National Assembly to modernize the country's tax system. Now, these bills aim to consolidate tax laws, streamline administration, and boost revenue. According to Oyedele, individuals earning up to 1.7 million naira monthly will see lower payee taxes, while minimum wage earners will be exempted. High-income earners, however, will pay slightly more, with a maximum rate of 25% for ultra-high net worth individuals. Now, in the world of sports, Ogun State Governor Dakwa Abiodun has named Anthony Joshua, the 2-time world heavyweight champion, as the torchbearer for the rescheduled 2024 National Sports Festival. The announcement came during a visit by the British-Nigerian boxing star to the governor's office in Abeokuta. Governor Abiodun also revealed plans to build the Anthony Joshua indoor boxing ring in Abeokuta and gifted Joshua a new home in Shagam. He praised Joshua's global achievements, called him a source of inspiration for Ogun State's youth, and named him the state's official sports ambassador. In response, Joshua promised to promote Ogun State and its rich talent pool on the world stage while supporting sports development initiatives. Still talking sports, Leicester City's Wilfred Ndidi is hopeful for a January return after being sidelined with a thigh injury earlier this month. The midfielder picked up the knock in a 2-2 draw against Brighton on December 8 and has since missed 4 matches, all losses for the Foxes. Speaking at a Boxing Day children's party he hosted, Ndidi said he's eager to return but won't rush his recovery. He praised his teammates, emphasizing that no player is bigger than the team, and urged patience as the squad adapts to new coach Rod Van Nistelrooy's system. Despite their struggles, Ndidi is confident Leicester can avoid relegation. Now, the Foxes sit 18th with just 14 points from 19 games, but the fight isn't over. And that's all at this hour. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.